Welcome to the Home Building Hub, your essential podcast guide to building your new home. Hosted by industry experts Colin Bischoff and Darren Brennan, this conversational podcast will help better educate you about all things new home building so you can avoid costly mistakes and enjoy your building experience to the fullest, no matter which home builder you choose.
Hey there folks, it's Colin here from the Home Building Hub, sitting here with co-host Darren Brennan. And today we're going to give you, right back at the start, some quick tips around display home villages, display homes, some really good tips and insights from us with our experience. And we really want to open you up to understand and have a better insight into some of the things you should do, some of the questions you should ask, perhaps some of the questions you shouldn't ask, and just better equip you for your journey as you go through the beautiful display homes and display villages. So how are you going today, Daz?
Going great, Cole. Going really well, thank you. Again, hopefully a good topic for people to sink their teeth into.
Yeah, I think for us, we've done a finance one. This is probably the next step for a lot of people. They love going through display homes and want to give you a little bit more, I guess, a few more tools in the belt just to get you better understanding how they work. But before we begin, we will cover a disclaimer. So whilst we're all about providing value to you, this podcast should not be considered as legal or financial advice. It contains general information only, and you should seek out independent professional advice on your personal situation before you make any legal or financial decisions. And another thing we're going to share for you today is a couple of our own experiences. So Darren and I have been what we call selling in the garage. In our industry, we call it the garage, the display home, the office that you walk through. We've had a couple of experiences, amusing experiences, and I'm sure a lot of consultants out there have as well. So we'll share a couple of those as well, Daz, won't we?
There's some good value in that, for sure.
Yeah. So I'll get you to kick off, Darren. So we want to, I guess, outline for people what are the purposes of display homes. I guess why are they so different? Some are really, really highly upgraded, some are not, and talk about different models and different approaches as you start that process. So over to you, Daz.
For sure. And I guess, kicking off really quickly, obviously I work for Metricon as a regional sales manager. So, with my Metricon hat on, and then I'm going to try and take it off as best I can to be impartial in that respect. But we'll talk a little bit about that side as well. But obviously, displays are about, inspiring people. It's a bit like getting the old brochure for when you go on a holiday, and you're getting all those pictures. Well, it's bringing that to life and giving people a chance to wander through that home. But more often than not, they do have a lot of extra features that aren't included in the base price of the home. And that's not everybody's model. Some models will cover just straight up everything's included. But for the most part, most builders would be a base house price plus extras, and that could be the facade, that could be, cabinetry in the kitchen, other features throughout the home, higher ceilings, etc. And that's about wowing people. You go into the car dealership and you see, they don't put often the base model on the floor. They put the really aspirational model on the floor, and you walk in and you're blown away by it. And that's what builders are trying to do, is really capture your attention and get you to fall in love with that home. It is sometimes difficult to see beyond the furniture and that sort of stuff that's in the home as well. So they put amazing furniture that, can blow your socks off, and it's hard to see beyond that. So, yeah, certainly I guess it is there to inspire you, but it's also there as a lead generation tool for the builder. So they want to show you their home and then, hopefully wow you with that. And then you give them your name and number and you start talking to them about building that home. So, they certainly, part of that is if you give your name and number, they're going to call you, they're going to email you, and they're going to probably text you. And I guess it's coming from a good place. Some people will see that as harassment. Others will see that as them doing their job. And for us in the industry, we see that as doing your job. But you want to be giving value when you are doing that. So if you're ringing up to touch base, it's probably not really what people are after. They want to see value. So it is, by the way, new promotion, I've cited this house on your block for you, etc. And you're getting value at that point. So I guess, hopefully a really good consultant's doing that stuff for you. So
the other part of value there, Darren, I believe is there's a lot of complexity and confusion when it comes to walking through display homes and getting through quoting stages and stuff. Clients have a lot of learning and education that they have to go through. And sales consultants are the key to that. So a lot of the time, the sales consultant's calling you with that in mind, to trying to get you down from what the perception is with all the beautiful stuff down to reality of maybe perhaps what your budget is and what you can get within that budget. So it's some form of harassment for some, but it's really not their intention. They're actually just trying to get you to level with them, So I think the more you talk to salespeople, the better off you are as you take that perception down a reality journey. Yeah.
I think also as a buyer, we often put barriers up. It's we're fearful that we're going to get sold to rather than that we're going to get serviced. So, we really want to be serviced as best we can. So,
yeah,
good. For you, Cole, how do you see that side from a display point of view? What do you see the purpose? I mean, for your own business, it's slightly different, and maybe touch on that.
Yeah, well, our business is different. So we have, I guess, what they call turnkey inclusions, which includes fencing, landscaping, and I guess everything you need. So you pretty much grab the key and off you go. Most volume builders don't provide that to the retail market. So you generally, they'll provide the home, and some will do front landscaping, for example. But for us, as a result of our model, we generally target first home buyers, investors, and also second and third home buyers in the sense of custom changes. We do get a lot of those people because we're pretty agile and flexible in that respect. So our model doesn't actually have display homes as such. So the first thing I will say is that display homes and the display home model, absolutely, it works. But the understanding, I guess how would I put this? Each builder has a different strategy and a different model that targets different buyer types. Even Metricon, which you can share, Darren, you have different ranges that target different buyer types, first home buyers and investors, and second and third, and knockdown rebuild, and all these different types. What builders are trying to do is put their product in the right frame of reference or the right point for a client in their target market to understand. Okay, so for us, it's really about everything. Our base price includes everything you need. Really, you don't have to upgrade anything. We don't really do confusion. We just do authenticity, real homes. We put virtual tours on our website. We don't display in villages because we actually have more of a real estate model, which means by appointment only. So it gives our sales consultants flexibility, but it also gives the client a bit more, here's what you see is what you get approach. So we don't have all these upgrades. We have some, but not many. We basically lease some of our clients' homes back out off them and use those as display houses, if that makes sense. And that appeals to investors. It appeals to first home buyers because they're the people who just want to see, well, what is it I get? Make it nice and simple for me and go from there. So that works for us. And the reason we don't put our homes in display villages is because a little bit like putting I guess having a Porsche and a Range Rover and a Bentley next to a Toyota and then putting a Toyota next to it. It's a bit like that. So the Toyota for us that's what we offer. That's what we provide: good value for money, reliable, that sort of stuff. It's not saying this as a pitch. I'm just saying this from how our model's different. If you walk into a Toyota dealership, you'll find some amazing cars. And we have a Toyota. We've had one for a number of years. Never had a problem with it. Like, it's just one of those things. They've got everything you need and they're just durable, reliable, and they get the job done. And I think for some people in the market, that's what you're looking for. Whereas some others, maybe you're not looking for that. You want to go through the glitz and the glamour and look at all the fun stuff in display villages, which is totally fine. And usually the first step a lot of people take after a bit of online homework. So what are the markets you might hit, Darren, with let's use Metricon, different ranges, et cetera, you might target?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have a whole range of different homes, starting from one of our, we have sub brands of Metricon as well. So we have ABC Home Solutions, and then in the part of the homes that I look after, which is our Freedom range, our Designer range, and our Signature range homes, and they are stepping up through really, Signature being absolute premium, high quality homes, of the highest level and amazing homes. From a display point of view, we usually display a couple of homes next door to each other in most occasions, not always, but in most. And when that's the case, one is really there to truly showcase that aspirational type home. So it's got lots of upgrades. It's got things like, swimming pools, wine cellars, big voids in 2-story homes, amazing staircases. Often it's got a really amazing facade on that home, to capture people from the street. And it's designed in such a way as somewhat of a lure, and so people are coming in to see that and they're blown away, barn doors and popped up ceilings and fully pimped out kitchens, like that sort of stuff. And then we tend to deliver a less upgraded home that is still really, we want it to be aspirational. So we want people to be wowed when they walk in, but it's much more tends to be what, most people can start to consider affording, I guess. So, and again, depending on your budget, right? So we tend to sell more of the less upgraded homes than we do of the really big upgraded homes, just because there's more buyers that can afford that. So it's really targeting that. It's showcasing what we can do. It's showcasing some of the features of the home. And it's there to, make people feel amazing. We want them to look like hotel rooms, so when you go to a hotel, we want them to be, beautifully presented with really nice furniture and lighting and kept super clean, and the gardens look amazing and all those things, because, when you go to a hotel, you don't want to spend really good money and get a dodgy hotel. You're not going to feel good about yourself. So yeah, that certainly assists in that respect. We have displays ranging from about 23 squares, which is about, call it 250 square meters of home, up to 88 squares. So monster houses, like enormous homes. That's nearly 1,000 square meter home. So again, it just meeting different audiences, I guess. And, from, Metricon is the number one builder in the country, and we've got, hundreds of display homes right across the country. So, it matches sort of the size of the business and what we do. So, yeah, it's just a different setup, and we have different displays to suit different audiences. And a lot of our competitors do the same. You'll see other builders batting down the same path, or they stick to a particular type. Some builders will have multiple ranges of homes, and they may even have different people servicing those different brands, and they may sell those different brands in different ways. So some builders, like Your Own Coal, is obviously targeting first home buyers, investors with a full turnkey product. So it's a really solution driven product. Sometimes that solution is driven through finance, and, the likes of Mark, who was on one of our previous podcasts, often helps those types of buyers. And so it's sold through finding a solution to your finance and then finding a home to match that solution. So it really depends on what it is that's going to best meet the customer's needs, and there's no harm in going and looking at an 88 square home if you can only afford a 25 square home. It just gives you, an idea of what that builder can deliver as well. And I guess, that's a big part of what it's about. So,
yeah. If anything, even though our model's not for display homes, I'd encourage people still to go and do it. Get it out of your system, I generally tell people, because there's a point where, and I guess Darren and I are going to share our top tips for you to finish the podcast. There's a point where it all becomes a bit blurry and they all start looking the same. So when you sort of hit that point, I think that's the time you need to start sitting down and looking at discussing, your options with sales consultants, because they're the only ones that are going to actually give you the price at the end of the day, right? So
absolutely.
That's really what you're there to get to. So I think your initial journey, just enjoy it, have fun, enjoy the beautiful homes that are out there. But once you're done with that, fast track through, sit down with sales consultants, whether it's a company like ours where you go by appointment only, or with Metricon or any other builder. You sit with the sales consultant. That's where you're going to get your quickest learnings and education that I said earlier. So
I think it is about matching the right home to people's budgets, and so, again, a key part of that is if you want to find a home to suit your budget, then you're best to reveal your budget. And often people are a bit cagey. Don't really want to tell you my budget because they think they're going to get sold to. But in the end, without knowing what that number is, then you're actually going to end up wasting a whole lot of your own time as a consumer, because you'll either end up with something that doesn't match it because it's too expensive, or doesn't match it because you're not getting all the features you want and you've got more money to spend. So you end up with a smaller house, and then you're like, well, that was a waste of my time. You leave that display and think, geez, well, that guy didn't catch the cues, or whatever it might be. But you've got to, I guess, reveal your hand. And I'd really suggest that to buyers, that, go in there open. I'll share an experience that I had when I built, which was, we got the blind company in to do the blinds on our home. And the first one, we just said, just show us the best of what you got. Here's what we want. And it was like twice our budget. The next people came in and we said, we've got this amount of money to spend, and we're really happy to spend a bit more here and here. And we're okay to sacrifice a bit to get it to work, because we realized we certainly couldn't afford the last one. We ended up right on budget and got the most amazing blinds. And the person was so helpful because they now understood what our wants and needs were and what we could afford. Yeah. So, don't be afraid to reveal your hand, I guess.
It's actually pivotal, to be honest. It's absolutely 100%. Essential. So you got to know your finance. You got to get your finance in order in terms of what your capacity is, but more so not just your capacity as per Mark's advice. It was, what can you afford, not necessarily what you can borrow. And you definitely should be going into a display village to enjoy it. But when you're ready to have those chats, you should not be holding back on, what you share with the salespeople. You need to be able to say, here are my needs, here are my wants, here's my minimum budget, here's my maximum budget, and then let them do their thing. Well, I think we're jumping ahead to the tips, Daz, but that's one for me, is let the salespeople provide the solution to you. That's what they're there for. So if your budget is 300 to 350, tell them that, and let them find, as in for the house, let them find a solution and present it to you. And what's helpful is, in another one, another couple of episodes, we'll talk about building quotes. We'll talk about all this, getting to the detail for you. But one of the examples I like to use is, if I said to you, how much is a car? It's pretty hard to answer. You're naturally going to say, well, do you want a sedan? What's your budget? What features do you want? Things like that. So if you come in prepared with at least some of that information, if you could say, look, I'm looking for a single story. I'm looking somewhere around 20 to 25 squares, or if you're not sure of that, at least note the things that you do want and the things that you do need. Okay, so I need 4 beds, and I want 27 ceiling heights, but I'm happy with 25 ceiling heights, things like that. So, if it's the car example, like, I don't need seat warmers, but I'd love them. I'd love to have them, but I do need rear, a camera and things like that. Do you know what I mean? So if you come prepared, you're giving your sales consultant and, 1 or 2 or 3 of them, the person you're talking to, the best chance at getting you your best quote. Okay, so that's definitely something that we consider, and take away the myth of this, you're being sold to. That's really, if we can get your information when you're ready for that to happen, the consultant's there to provide you with the options available based on an honest discussion with you.
For sure. How do you find, Colin, obviously, and when I was selling, it was one of the things I really enjoyed doing, was taking people through homes under construction. And that's, you mentioned that often, you've got client houses that end up becoming your display home. They're obviously by appointment. How do you find that side? Are people receptive to seeing that, and how do you see that? Because that's certainly very different to the model that I operate in now.
Yep. So for us, it's like, it works very well. Me as a sales consultant, even when I was at a volume builder, I would always take them through houses under construction, because I felt showing people reality more so than perception was the way that I preferred to operate. I understood why we started at perception. I got all that. But so with our model now, we have also, to match authenticity and showing people through homes that are pretty much what you see is what you get, our level of base price inclusions, or the inclusions in the base price, is far beyond basically what anyone else provides. It's already got the stone and the high ceilings and the downlights throughout and all the features, all the flooring. We don't really do promotions. We just really focus on, here's what's included, here's how much it is, full turnkey, and here's what it looks like. Very real, very raw and simple for people to understand. I find personally, Daz, that it's quite confusing and complex to understand. People just want to know, well, what do I get? Like, they walk through a display house and and it's confusing as to what do I get, what do I not get, and it's hard to go through that. For us, we just try and put that up front for people.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
that, I guess that means we don't see foot traffic and we get less names and numbers up front. But it also means that ones that we do get are sort of that step further ahead, then less qualification required, etc.
And that, I guess, on that note, that can be some of the confusion too of going to display villages, is because you can have a 25 square home, and I'm just going to throw a number out there, but the base home's $300,000. And then you can have another 25 square home and its price is $350,000. And then you can have another base home and its base price is $400,000, all because they've got different inclusions and they've got all these different things. And now you're confused. I don't know. Do I like the $400,000? Do I like the 300? So it is about talking through, having a walkthrough, and again, they're not done as much, I don't think, these days, but requesting a walkthrough, and what that is getting them to walk you through the home and showcase the standard inclusions, but also showcase the upgrades that are in that home, but also ask, what are the most popular upgrades? Because sometimes, what are the things that people are actually choosing? There can be some really good questions to be putting out there on that journey. So yeah, certainly, it's not as easy as it sounds. And the other thing that's happening too, Cole, that we probably didn't touch on before we jumped in the episode, is there's now builders doing, you mentioned virtual tours, but you can now, with some builders, even do full VR tours of homes. So they can literally build a home on a headset, and it's a whole different experience. And it's like, I've experienced it, and it's like looking at a home in the real, but you're in this VR space. It's going to be interesting to see where displays go, I guess, in the future and what that looks like. I think they'll be around for a long time still, but there'll be more of that stuff come in, and it's certainly very interesting. What it looks like leading forward.
Yeah, agree. What about, before we finish off with our tips, Daz, one funny moment each that we have experienced? So as we tell the listeners, we have sold many homes ourselves individually and sat behind that desk and help home buyers come through the process. And one thing, I'll go first. One of the things I find most amusing over the journey is how people do really feel like they're going to get sold to. So they tend to walk through the door and they scale along the glass just to avoid you, and they avoid eye contact just so they can get in the next door and walk in the display home, and then they can relax because they're not getting harassed by a sales consultant who's really probably just there just to try and help them navigate the journey. But one of the funniest things I've seen, and I've seen it more than once, probably maybe 2 or 3 times I've seen this over the journey, is someone's walked into the display and they've pretended that they're on the phone and they've scaled the glass to get to the next door, but their phone has actually rang whilst they're pretending they're on the phone.
You think you put it on silent, right?
Well, yeah, you should put it on silent. So that's a tip for you. If you are going to scale the window, pretend to be on the phone, which I don't recommend, then put it on silent. But yeah, one of the times I recall that person giving me eye contact straight away, and they just knew, and I just laughed at like the little smirk and let them just keep going. But that's probably one of the funnier ones for me. What about you, Daz?
Yeah, I once so where I sold from, I had 5 displays, and so it was a bit of a journey to lock them up. So I went down and locked all the homes up, and I was pretty sure everyone had left, and got in my car and drove off, and I could hear the alarm go off, and I looked over, and then there's the people in the front window banging on the window as I've driven off. So
you locked them
in. Suffice to say that they locked them in, and the alarm's going off, so their ears are ringing. They weren't overly impressed. No. I didn't end up selling them a house, so it was pretty good value, but didn't win. But some of the stuff, I'll go one real quick one. The number, and it's something to be aware of, right? You're in displays in built up areas, it's fine, but I don't want to scare people from going to a display, but I've experienced snakes inside displays before, which is a bit scary too. So if you're on the back of a national park or something where the display is, tell the consultant maybe close back door when it's in summer, so don't get a snake in the display. But yeah, I mean, they're in paddocks, often. So, and big tractors and stuff driving around near them. So if I was a snake, I'd be wanting to hide as well, but just please don't hide in my house. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So anyway, bit of fun.
Can't say I've had that experience. No.
But, good.
That's good. Yeah, good for a bit of a laugh. So we're going to wrap this up, guys. We're going to give you now the top tips from us. We'll give you probably three tips or so each, and these are the ones you take with you moving forward, if you're going to go to display villages, display homes, or even start that process of talking to sales consultants. Okay, so Daz, you can kick off. What are your tips?
Yeah, so I guess number one for me is do your homework before you get to the display. So, have an understanding what you're after, rough idea of a floor plan, and you probably already do. You probably got some ideas in your mind. And then, search the builders' websites and find those homes where they are on display and go and actually look at those homes first because they're already going to align with what you're after. So it's probably going to save you some time. I wouldn't go visiting every home because, like you said earlier, Colin, after a while, they become much of the muchness and you become overwhelmed and consumed in that. And I guess pick a few builders and pick a few designs that sort of align with yourself. The next one, and we already touched on that, is ask questions of the new home consultant. That's their job, is to help you, and they're going to save you a lot of time. They're going to give you some great tips about the design. They're going to give you ideas of what other people have actually done along the way. They're going to be able to potentially offer you other home designs that might even suit your needs better, and give you some ideas there. And they'll also be able to talk you through things like standard options, as obviously upgrades, etc. in the home. And it might be how, orientation of the home on the block, all that stuff that's really important. So, take advantage of their time. They're there to help you. So, don't be afraid to ask questions. Next one will be take photos along the way, and again, these days with your old iPhone or whatever you've got, you can just snap a happy snap along the way and give yourself some inspiration and start to use that as, and you can share that between builders. Hey, I saw this down the road. I really like this feature. Is that something I can do? Have you got something similar, etc.? And you'll probably find that will get you a better result as well. And my last one would be, buy from someone you feel comfortable with. And what I mean from that is be comfortable with the consultant, be comfortable with the builder, be comfortable with the price they're offering, right? Make sure they align with your values. And, I think you'll find that, when that's the case, you're going to be able to pick up the phone and ring them. It's going to be more like dealing with someone you trust. You want them to be your trusted advisor. You want them to bat for you, along the way. It is a long journey. You want them to answer your phone call, not ignore your phone call. So find someone that you align with and where that's the case. So.
Yeah. Good
Over
tips.
to you, mate. What are yours?
Yeah, thank you, Daz. Probably just to tack on the back of that last one, one of the things I've said to a lot of clients over the years is if you took down all the signs in all the display villages and you had to pick a builder, most of the decision, there'll be a bit about design, obviously about price and budget and those things, but most of the decision comes down to trust. It comes down to the consultant that you trust and the builder that you trust to proceed with, with your construction. Okay, so definitely some good tips there. Thanks, Darren. For me, I've got a few here. So I think that I always, and I've said a couple of times now, I have explaining to people the process of perception to reality. So I think you should go to display homes. You should enjoy that process. However, once the initial shine wears off, and once you, as we said earlier, once they start blending together, they start looking the same, and you can't remember if that kitchen we liked was that in Metricons or was that in that other builder or whatever. That's when it's sort of time to potentially start talking to a sales consultant. I believe that people stay in perception mode for a bit too long, and the more time you spend in perception mode, the more confused you become. I've seen it over and over and over again. Okay, so enjoy the process up front, but when you're ready, you should start hitting I guess the needs and wants list and all those sorts of things we discussed a bit earlier. One of the best tips I can give someone is as follows. When you go to a display home, do not, and this happens all day, every day with sales teams or sales consultants, do not ask how much is it as displayed, because it's actually not the intended answer you're looking for. Because a lot of builders are displaying, like Darren mentioned before, like a much higher end model or with a lot of features and upgrades that most people at the end of the day, when they buy that house, they don't necessarily purchase all of those things. So instead of asking how much is it as displayed, what you should do is ask the consultant or the person helping you at the front desk, when people build this home, on average, what do they spend? And even if it's a 20, 30K bracket, do they spend 350 to 370 or do they spend 320 to 340? Like just something that gives you a bit of an understanding of if that home and the normal inclusions and a few of the upgrades fit in your budget. And speaking of budget, I think, and which is something Darren did mention earlier, you must be honest with your budget. If you, as we said earlier, you've got to get your minimum and get your maximum and just give them and your wants and your needs, and you give them to a sales consultant. It is their job to find the solution for you. And realistically, if you're going to go in under budget, you're going to get something in return that you don't even want. Okay, so it's in your best interest just to be open and honest and say, here's my budget, can you find me a solution? If they can, great. If they can't, well, at least it's really no skin off your nose. The last tip I would say is as follows. The consultant is your friend. They are there to sell houses. But at the end of the day, they can't sell a house without providing good value, good service, and actually give you the information you need and the confidence you need and the trust you need to proceed. Okay, so don't treat them, as in an enemy and give them, as I said, like low budgets and things like that, and trying to get bigger discounts and all that sort of stuff. Like it's not a negotiation in that sense initially. You've got to understand they've just got to help educate you through the process, and they're there to help and their goal is to get you a quote that's finalized, that's got everything you need in your needs and wants list. Well, one quote for the 350 example and one quote for the 370 example. They're happy to give you 2 quotes, and then you can go away and think about those things. I would say treat the consultant as your asset, not your liability in this process. And for all clients who are out there, we often find, Darren, a lot of different types of clients over the journey. Some clients are really big on spreadsheets and 4,829 questions, and that's okay. But just understand that you got to give the time to the consultant to answer those. Some clients, I have referred to them as hero clients over the journey, and that's generally quite often it's the daughter or the son buying, the younger in their 20s, and then you got the mum or the dad in the background who's the expert, being a little bit like demanding and disrespectful to the sales consultant. I would say, if I was you, don't do that. Just let the process play out. Let the consultant provide the information and just ask the questions. There's no one here in this industry to rip anyone off. They're just trying to get what you want, what you need, and provide some sort of solution for you in between that, as long as it fits in your budget. So that'd be my top tips.
Probably the other bit, and it very much aligns with the last point you've just said there about having them as your friend or your trusted advisor, is if you haven't bought land yet as well, pop in and see them. They often they'll know about special offers on land. They'll know about blocks that are off the market. They'll know about resale lots. They'll know about all that stuff. So sometimes it can be a significant saving for you, or finding you a better lot for the same price in a better location. So you can just have some wins by having a chat to the consultants about, and you'll pick that up pretty quick. If you start asking one, what can you tell me about the land, and they brush you off pretty quickly, well, it's not important to that consultant. That's okay. Don't be afraid to ask the same question to the next, because they might be like, actually, I've got a mate of mine who's the land agent around the corner, and I know right now he's giving a discount of this, or you'll get free front landscaping, or you'll get this. So, it could be, I know he's got a block returning to the market. So, they can be really valuable with the land transaction as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. So, look, that pretty much wraps up this episode. We thought we'd kick off with the start of the process again, and we will continue to provide these 101 type episodes, Darren, and that we're going to talk about, house and land. What does it mean? Explain that, whether you should buy house or land first. Talk about quotes, building quotes, site costs, what's in them, all that sort of stuff. We're really going to focus on giving you guys that education, and we'll continue to provide some guests along the way. And so as far as today's concerned, thank you again for listening. As always, if you did like the episode, there is a fee. What is that, Darren?
The fee is we don't charge you anything. It's free to listen to. But if you do like the podcast, please share it with somebody else. We really appreciate that. The uptake so far has blown our socks off. We've certainly really appreciative of everyone who's taken some time out to have a listen to what we've got to offer. But if you do like what we've got to offer, number one, share the podcast with at least one friend. And number two, give us a 5-star review if you think we've earned the right for that. So we'd really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Excellent. And if you've got any further topic ideas or questions, head to the website homebuildinghub.com.au and there's a contact us section there. The episodes are posted, the links to all the platforms are there. And other than that, Darren, I think we're good to go. So thank you very much again, guys. We will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
1,